Don can let folks in, if he can fight that anger and continue to be successful and write books and become a doctor, you can do it too. Don't let your circumstance stop you from being successful for you. And so, Don, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, well, folks, stay tuned. We're going to come back and we're going to meet our teacher of the week. Great job, Don.
Yeah, good job.
Sorry, Dr. B.
Yeah, I did get one of the guys I wanted to ask.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
We have 30 seconds
Don
left.
Hebbard.
And
All right.
www.donhebbard. I'm gonna look that
wanted to
up.
try to get us on time.
All right.
Do two of you mind switching chairs?
No, not at all.
That way I can get Al on the.
You're welcome to stay for the rest of the program, or if you want to leave, you can do that.
I'll just stay and
Good.
watch out.
Yeah.
I'd love to. Thank you. Leave it open.
All right, so
Great
tomorrow's.
job.
Yeah, great job, Don. Thank you for sharing that personal story.
Yeah,
That was fantastic.
Oh, good.
That's what we want: real lives, real stories.
Hey, that's
Okay, so tomorrow, what are we pushing?
like one of the
We've
things I
got
kinda joke around with is
Chef Tommy is coming in.
Chef Tommy, we're going to be
takes a
talking about
village.
how to
I
respond
always say that when as a child,
to
that's
Yeah.
the
trauma.
common.
When
So when I email teachers, that's how I always
catastrophic
start my
events
emails off
happen,
to the village of
how do we help
so-and-so.
our kids
Oh,
now?
You know, when I
Okay.
I don't just
And do you
email
want
my
to
teacher,
mention
I'll
anything about
email
Paris?
all
I'm
the
going to try and get
teachers
somebody
and say,
from
"Guys, we gotta know
FEMA
what's
as
going on
well
with this kid."
Uh,
Everybody needs to
on
communicate.
response to
Yeah.
things like that.
Because I look at what class were you? 92?
90.
90?
90.
All right.
We've
'cause
had
I
a
lived
good
on my own in high
response
school.
to
I had my own
most of our
apartment.
commercials.
Senior year, worked hard, and even though I resided alone
Part-time.
like you,
We've had like 100
Um,
likes.
Oh, good.
teachers,
commercial.
friends,
So,
administrators.
Hopefully that'll translate
who
into them
believed
going
in
in
me
and
and
telling
helped
him,
support
hey,
me.
we're here
And
to
that's where I feel like I got my
do
success.
it. We don't have.
You know,
We got one person that's tweeted that
struggle
there was
with
things.
trying to
So,
make my kid happy and
I
not
don't know
try
what
to
that
make
means.
a choice.
People are
That's
just quiet on
my
the
biggest
text
thing.
toy.
Yeah.
But I try to learn.
Yeah. It's
I know people get up and listen to
I
us
was
in
the
the
same
morning.
way.
so
I was
that's what
like,
they do,
Yeah.
so.
I was so thrilled with the
Well,
attachment
and
with my
this is
children that
the
sometimes
unique
it was hard to
audience,
make them,
the first one.
you know,
Mhm.
toe the line a little bit.
One of the
Yeah.
questions I was
Yeah.
going to
How
ask
long
them
have you been
was,
at the high
when
school?
should they
Actually, this is
allow
only
me
this is my second year as a principal.
that I knew.
Third
And I
year
don't
if you
know.
include my
The
intern.
kid's going to find out
Um,
eventually.
I've been in education for about 15 years. I was a
I said,
teacher
when should we tell
and
them?
a
I said,
coach.
now.
And I actually graduated from Plano senior year where I taught for
whenever you're
forever.
done.
Inner city.
Just
Dallas is where I started.
Not make it
East side
it's
Austin.
natural.
Because now it's
And then
becoming.
came to
Yeah, now it's
Plano.
becoming natural.
Why'd you hide
And
from
which
us?
one in Plano you at?
I was at Plano
Somebody's
senior.
in line.
Plano senior.
I was one there in the math department. I was a coach, and always wanted to be an administrator. Just thought I had to work the trenches first before I could become an administrator.
Yeah.
And fell in love with teaching. The next thing I know, 15 years later, I'm like, whoa, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I need to give a shout out to my wife later, though. It's our anniversary
Okay.
today.
Oh,
That's fine.
absolutely.
Say hello.
And she just texted me, I'm listening.
Well, I would hope your wife would be listening.
Plano East?
Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
you say Plano Senior High, Al Gallo.
Yeah, Plano Senior is my alumni, but Plano East is where I work. It all says Plano, though. Plano ISD is where it's at.
So did you grow up here in Dallas?
Hmm?
Did you grow up here in Dallas?
Tulsa and Plano.
Oh.
I grew up in Tulsa through 9th grade, and then 10th grade I lived down here.
Oh.
And lived with my dad, and we just didn't get along.
All right, Dr. B.
And so
Yes.
that's why I went on my own.
So tomorrow we will talk about how to help your children cope with traumatic experiences.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he
And
was.
do you want me to mention Paris or not?
He was.
Yeah, just say
Yeah.
things like
From what I hear, a
Paris,
good guy.
things like Paris,
Not a
9/11,
great
Paris, when those
he-
things
he
happen,
didn't
our
want me. He was
kids
very
need support.
rarely around.
You want me to try to get
In
the
fact, my
governor's
stepdad
office
is the
on
one I
tomorrow?
called Dad.
That'd be good.
Let me see if I can get them on. You know, that's always a great way to come back, Dr. B. We've got high hopes, and I know that that ant can move that rubber tree plant.
Oh, yes, especially today.
Especially today. It's
The
definitely slick.
The ant didn't need a lot of help today.
No.
Just the wind blew it. So
That's the truth. Well, I'll tell you what, the ram in the dam, that's going to be a tough one. That's for sure. But, folks, welcome back here at On Point with JP and Dr. B. Today is Tuesday. Tuesdays are our real lives, real stories. And we had Dr. Don Hebbard on, and he talked about his progression through adoption, and then was able to talk about all the successes that he had, but the challenges that came with that and how you can overcome those things. So hopefully it was helpful to hear just regular old folks out there doing some amazing things. Also, we celebrate our teacher or student of the week, and today I am excited that we have somebody that I get to work with actually on a fairly regular basis, but was nominated by Allison Welch, one of his coworkers, which is always nice to be recognized by one of your coworkers. And here's what she had to say about Al Gallo, who is a sub-school principal out at Plano East Senior High School. She said, Al Gallo is an amazing sub-school principal at Plano East. He is always bringing a smile to both kids and staff. He always is loving on kids and making sure they know that they have someone they can come to and talk to and trust. And he's always engaging them. In fact, if you're not careful, in the lunchroom, you might even get him to do a dance for you. So, folks, welcome to our studio, Al Gallo. Al, welcome to.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
welcome, Al. It's I've heard about you before, and from some of the kids even.
Oh, really?
So that's a good sign. When the kids speak highly of you, I'm always wondering, what is he doing special? And but I didn't know about the dance. No, so that's what it is.
I always got to keep the kids guessing, and you know, my goal is if I'm doing my job right, then I don't work with Judge Payton. You know, my goal is to not get to that courtroom with those kids.
So Al, where do you think it all came from? Where did it all start for you? Where you knew that your knack was going to be working with kiddos?
Well, I mean, I think it started when I was a kid. I always kind of tell people, like when I was going through Plano Senior, being an alumni there, I actually grew up on my own. My senior year, I actually lived on my own, had my own apartment. And I was sharing this with our previous guest, Dr. Hebbard, and I was saying, even though I resided alone, I was raised by a village of teachers, friends, and administrators who helped kind of mold me. And when I graduated from high school and went to college, I wanted to be this engineer. And then I kind of returned the favor, became a volunteer teacher over in East Austin when I was down there, and just fell in love with working with kids, and changed my degree and started teaching. So I actually started teaching in inner city, and that's really where I wanted to be, was inner city, and I loved it. I did it for the first 5-6 years of my career, and never really would have came back except for certain circumstances, and came to Plano and been here ever since. So it's just that relationship working with kids that made the big deal.
What age did you start teaching? I don't mean your age. I mean the kids. What did
my first
junior
year,
high school?
My first year was actually a 7th grade Bowd Story Middle School in the Dallas ISD.
All right, and that's a challenging age anyway.
It was. I mean, it was witnessing some of the things that I went through at that school. It was a very challenging age, meeting kids who had real world problems and things that I kind of take for granted. And it was a great year, though. It was probably one of my favorite years that I still fondly, like you said before, making journals. I mean, I have my journal from my first year I taught, and when I struggle and have my lows, open up that book and kind of remember where I came from.
That's right. So you started there and enjoyed teaching. In fact, I heard you say the magic word, I love teaching, and which I think is important. I wish every teacher was. And then you decided to move into administration, or were you just kind of pushed into administration?
Well, no, I've always wanted to be the administrator.
Okay.
I got into education because I like to have that kind of that role, and but I felt like I needed to teach, kind of understand who I would help lead, and fell in love with teaching. And 12, 13 years later, was still teaching and still coaching. And actually, quick shout out to my wife. She's the one who kind of go, wait a second, didn't you always say you wanted to be an administrator? And kind of went, yeah. And so pretty much thanks to her, I got back on track.
So Al, talk to us about how you feel these kiddos are able to connect with you. What part of you do you think that because I mean, you connect with all walks of life. I mean, I've seen kids that have responded to you in court even, that just feel very connected to you, and they're from all different types. How do you do that? How do you connect across the board?
Time and patience. I try to make a connection. Yeah, to me, it's all about the relationship. I mean, these kids got to learn to trust you, know that you're going to be there, so when you do have to be strict with them, they understand where that's coming from. And I think it's just waiting to kind of find out where do you connect, what do they like, letting them know that you care. I kind of also go back to my management days, the 1 minute manager. You know, if I'm going to slap, you got to stroke, or if I'm going to stroke, I got to make sure I also throw in that little, the real world. Hey, we're here to help you, and some days you're not going to like me, and but I'm going to find a way to connect with you.
You know, Al, do you feel that being humble helps out with that? Showing empathy helps out with that. Do you show that kids respond to that or no?
Absolutely. I mean, it is. Every kid is different. You can't just look at a printout of a kid and understand what's going on. You have to make that connection. And I tell my students all the time, I can't understand what you're going through, but I've had my own issues where I can kind of relate. But I mean, let's hear your story, and you know, great to hear that. But now let's get moving with real life and kind of find out how we can kind of move you forward.
You know,
Go ahead.
one of the things that I sense from you, and I don't know that a kid has ever, or adolescent has ever said this exact word, but I appreciate that you respect these students, and that's what is one of the things that connects you. You respect them for who they are, and you don't look down on them.
Oh no, not absolutely not. I don't think you can want to be in this position, you know, and want to look down on these kids. You know, I always kind of laugh sometimes when I talk to some kids. Oh, this teacher hates me, and I'm like, no, they don't. I mean, no, I really don't feel like you get into this job to kind of have this power control over kids. You're here. You want to connect with, you want to help them and bring them on to that next level of their life, and just let them know that hey, I'm a resource for you. Use me.
You know, we all have that story if we work with kids. If we were good at it and we love it, we have that one story, two story. I mean, fortunately for me, I have hundreds of stories that I can fill my yearbook with on how I was able to touch a kiddo. Without mentioning names, of course. Share with our listeners a story that you have where you know that you made a difference in a kid's life. You changed the path of that kid.
Well, I mean, I can go back to my first year when I taught 7th grade middle school. That's an easy story. I had a kid who was missing my class like for 3-4 days, and I was like asking the kids what's going on. Like, oh, he's at home. He's got to watch his family. And he was only 7th grade. And so I packed up my books, threw it in my bag, and I knew where he lived a block away from the school, and walked into his house and knocked on his door and said, hey, let's study. And this is pretty much when I was young and kind of single and had all that time and loved it. And actually tutored him for a week at his house to get him caught up, and I wouldn't let him go. And a few years later when I left Dallas, came back to Plano, and we used to have this thing called a fall break. And back in the day, I loved that break. And I actually went back to South Oak Cliff to kind of say, hey, some of these kids might be out there. It's been that time. And he was there. He was a senior at that time, and I ran back into him, and I didn't even see him. He saw me from behind, ran in and tackled me. I was like, who is this? And he's like, Mr. G, how you doing? You know, I applied to college this year, and I don't think I would have done this if for you. And I'm like, 5 years, you remember me, and I don't look the same. So just finding those things where, I mean, I came and made that connection with that kid. Hey, I'm important. I'm not going to let you fail. You can have that own, you know, that little life thing where I'm going to let myself fail. I don't feel worthy, but I'm going to believe in you. And I might be one of those only few people, and sometimes you just need someone to kind of just keep believing in you. And we actually stayed in touch while he was in 7th and 8th and 9th grade while I was gone. And I think that was part of it too.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks, big hats off to Al Gallo. Allison Welch, thank you for sharing him with us. And he is our Teacher of the Week.
Teacher of the Week. And this is his anniversary, and he's here.
Yes. So a shout out to my wife. We have our anniversary coming up this week, and I appreciate her kind of waking up early and taking care of the kids and taking care of the household. So I appreciate you guys. All right. Shout out to my Plano East team too. And my family.
There you go. Well, folks, stay tuned tomorrow. I'll tell you what, we're going to be talking about crisis and how to help your children get ready for or prepare for a sudden crisis. For example, like what's gone on in Paris and around the world. In fact, today, the Russians have released that it in fact was a bomb on the Egyptian air flight. So how do we help our kids cope with that and deal with it? Stay tuned tomorrow for that. And the Chef Tommy is going to tell us how to cook together, eat together, and stick together. Dr. B, have a great day. Be safe out there, folks.
Have a great day, JP. Have a great day, everyone.
Y'all are delightful as a team together.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Very good chemistry.
Thank you. See, Dr. B, I'm telling you, my over ferocious appetite is not too bad for your calming methods.
There you go. Wow, very nice to meet you, sir.
You keep me calm, Dr. B.
So,
Hey, thank you guys for both coming in.
You bet.
Absolutely.
Sure appreciate it. Don, great story. Hopefully we've been able to connect with a lot of folks,
I hope so.
you know.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Y'all interview so well.
yes, thank you. I've never been on the radio before, so.
Well, by golly, you're our teacher of the week.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
If everything works out, we do have by the way, Sharon Ramage has agreed to be our scholarship sponsor
Okay.
for our students. If it works out, I'm hopefully going to have a 3 night